welcome to Milmo Wood from the beautiful North Wales. Today I'm going to make a very simple project that any beginner could make. It's a commission piece I've been asked to do, and it's a hedgehog house. Very simple. You could probably do it with scrap wood actually. Primarily made with 4" by 1" or 100mm by 25mm wood. Dead quick, dead simple, and a nice project to do. If you like the video, please consider subscribing, pressing that thumbs up button, liking it, maybe even ringing the bell and sharing with friends. Perhaps it's something that you might like to make. Well, follow step by step. Catch you soon. So I need 18 pieces of 50cm long wood. I've got the 4B1 or the 100mm by 25mm. I'm just going to cut the end to make sure that it's square. It's not that critical because it's only a hedgehog house, but so as usual, I've measured the first piece. I'll use that as a guide because I don't have a smart worktop for my saw where I can put a stop on. So all that I do is, without the power on, bring the blade down, slide gently up to the blade, and there we go. And as if by magic, 18 pieces 50cm long. Now I need to cut 4 pieces 55cm long. I got some scrap 2x2. I'm going to use these as battens to hold the sides together. So let's get these cut, approximately 20cm long. And I need 6 battens. Six battens. Now to apply the battens. So we've got 2 of the 50mm pieces of wood, 50cm pieces of wood. Stick them together. We need the batten to be in the thickness of the wood that we cut. So I'm just going to put a piece there. That's where the batten needs to be. So I'm just going to glue the battens in place and use a brad nailer. There's a split piece of wood. We've got the rough end, but we've got the smooth end. Just going to put the batten underneath. I'm going to stick a batten the other side so it's balanced out. Nice and straight. Put my wood underneath and slide up to that piece of wood so that we've got the correct spacing. So those brad nails are enough to hold the batten in place while it dries, and now we can do the other side. Batten secured. Give the glue a quick wipe down. course it's great having a brad nailer, but you don't need one. You can just do this with a normal hammer and fine nails. There you go, two sides. We're not going to stick those together yet because we've got to cut a doorway in one of those. So that's the two end walls. We've got an internal wall now, and the wood that's come has some knots that are missing. That'll be fine for the internal wall. So very similar thing on this one as well. We need to put some battens on, but slightly different to these. Again, waterproof glue. But these battens need to go right to the edge of the wood. And that's because these battens are going to be used to secure it against the external walls. Flip this over, you can see they're on the sides. So we got the two end walls and we got an internal wall. I'm just going to draw a quick door on one of the edges. So let's draw a quick door. There's a specific measurement for the door that's required, which is 13 centimeters wide. Or thereabouts, so it doesn't have to be wholly accurate. Shall we be fancy and put an arch on it instead? So I'm just going to measure the height of the door. So we've got it 13 centimeters wide. It needs to be 13 centimeters tall. Make a mark at 13 centimeters. Just going to use a roller tape. Put that on the 13. Just eye it so it looks quite nice. And then I'll cut that out. So I'm cutting the door out on the bandsaw. I've got rather a large blade in it, more a recutting blade really than for archways. So I cut a number of reliefs in, and all being well the blade will go round rather than changing the blade. I've now got the door cut out in one end. We've got a solid end. Need to make the box shape, so I'm taking the longer sections of wood, I think the 55 centimeter pieces of wood, and I'm going to glue them onto the batten and brad nail them onto the batten as well. So again, we're using waterproof glue. I'm using Type Bond 3. This is the glue that I have, but there's other waterproof glues that you can use. Just going to put a bead of glue down the batten and the outside boards. I'm just going to spread that out quickly with the finger. Okay. And then in order to make sure that they're straight, I'm going to use the surface of the worktop I'm working on. Get them straight in there. Keep your fingers out the way of the brad nailer. One down, one to go. Beauty of using the brad nailer or nailing them on rather than just gluing and clamping is you can carry on working. So I'm going to put a bead of glue on the opposite side now and just do exactly the same. Nearly got a box. So the closed end, we're going to repeat that, do exactly the same on the closed end, bead of glue. Just close that gap up again. Now what we do need to do is square it up though. Whoa, pleased with that. That's perfectly square. So with the door the right way round, so I'm going to flip this over now. We've got the base to go on. So we've got the 50cm wood. That's going to make the base. So bead of glue and brad nail this on. Get that on nicely, make sure it's centered, level at the front and back, so it's good on the sides. So unfortunately the wood is slightly thinner than I expected, and I didn't measure it when it was delivered. I assumed it was 100mm, but with it being planed it's slightly under 100mm. Yeah, so it's 95mm. I'll cut a strip and just fill that in with a strip of wood. So strip cut is going to be slightly wider than we need. But I'll trim that off later. Just refresh the glue on the edge. Put the bead on. Now if you remember, the interior wall that we made was the same as the width I hadn't allowed for the two edges. So all I'm going to do is rip a strip off there and then cut the doorway in. I'll quickly rip that off on the bandsaw, I'll put the door in, and then I'll show you me putting the inside wall in. So I cut the doorway on the internal door now, and I cut it on the end actually, which was in the photograph that I was provided. Because there's only a thin piece of wood, because I had to trim it, I'm going to stick a bit of batten on the end and just glue it in place. Oh, nice. nice snug fit. Now there needs to be a gap of 20 centimetres between this wall and the exterior wall. And it's only an approximation, as long as it's thereabouts, that should be fine. So that is about there. I'm just going to mark that on the edge so we know where it is. So if I take that measurement from the outside edge, that's 23.5 centimetres, I can mirror that. And none of this has to be really accurate. I'm going to stick some glue on. On both battens. And slip the wood in. Measure it to the measurements you had. Nice and tight. And then I'm going to stick some brad nails in. So we've now got the interior wall, we've got the door, the interior door, what will be the bedding area. Make the roof, trim the side off. So I've used a full length of extra piece of wood than I originally cut at the beginning of the video for the lid, and that way we get an overhang at each end. The difference between the lid and the base is I kind of want the lid to be waterproof, so I'm just going to flip each one over, put a bead of wood on, a bead of glue on, and then clamp them together to make the completed lid. Then I suggest that you get one end nice and level. And then the other end, if you cut them slightly different lengths, you can sort that out later, sanding it down, whatever you wish to do. I'm hoping these won't splay up, but we'll see as we put pressure on. And it doesn't need too much pressure to do this. Now I'm just making sure I can see squeeze out of the glue down each joint. That will make the joints waterproof. Which is fine, I'm happy with that. Just make sure they're relatively level. That should be perfect. Leave that to dry now. Nearly finished. I've sanded it down very quickly. I've rounded the edges off to take all the sharp sides off and on the corners. I fitted a hasp and staple so it can be secured. And on the back I fitted some T-hinges. If I just spin that around now, see I've just screwed them onto the back wall. we've got a lovely secure home for hedgehogs. Little entrance at the front. They'll go in, go through the second door, and I guess then that's where food and bedding stood. Really pleased with that.